Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, all praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that bless us with the ability to continue our training program, free life coach training program, which open online throughout the world for anybody who is interested in improving their professional capability in terms of motivation, coaching, mentoring and counseling, as well as to help the mosque, NGO and youth group all over the world. And we have the 4 modules at 4 levels. Module 1 is motivation, Module 2 is coaching, Module 3 is mentoring, and Module 4 is counseling. We have now go to the level 3 of mentoring, and then inshallah we'll then cover counseling at a greater depth, inshallah. So in mentoring, we have this trust model, TRUST. That means we have first build up of trust for mentoring, then build up rapport, then we explain the uniqueness of mentoring at the various age group, especially adolescents and teenagers, which is facing the greatest challenge in the history of humanity in terms of finding a purpose and meaning in life and finding their position in terms of how to live a good life. And then now I'm explaining the synchronicity aspect of Islamic psychology that you can apply in mentoring, and then later on we talk about time. Alright, so I've explained to you the nature of synchronicity. Of this is not just mere accidental coincidence. It's not just like they're talking about this material world, everything is just happened by chance. No, there is a purpose and meaning behind everything that existed in this universe, because the way the Creator has ordained this existence of this plane of our existence on this earth. Alright, and then we should understand, and we talk about synchronicity, there are a few synonyms which I'm going to explain to you and then elaborate further. First is that this aspect of synchronicity is people expect it to be like something like a coincidental thing. This is this. I meet you here, I see you. We don't meet a friend for 40 years, suddenly we meet him in Makkah 40 years later. That means we miss our friend, and then suddenly we meet in the middle of millions of people. Allah ordained that you meet that person, and then you build up a new relationship and do a new da'wah project, for example. That is not a coincidence. For example, I was doing some da'wah work. We have an outreach group when I was a young man, Islamic outreach, we call it Islamic outreach in Kuala Lumpur. Alright, and then came a young man, a hippie with long hair and a haversack, and that man was John Jenkins, and he is a traveler of the world. So, and this is the man who gave up his professional life as a psychologist, as a lecturer, as a professor, and then become a hippie because he got disillusioned with behavioral psychology. And then he tried various forms of finding the purpose and meaning in life. He joined the Buddhist group, he joined the Hindu group, because he was, before that, while he was teaching behaviorism, he was an ardent atheist. He doesn't believe in the nature of existence beyond the physical plane. But as he discovered, as he's traveled around the world as a hippie, he began to discover these kind of things. And then I met up with him at this Islamic Outreach Center, and we became friends. So from then on, we grew our relationship, and then we have a lot of exchanges in terms of intellectual development, and then we developed the Khalifa method, and he converted and became a Muslim and dedicated his whole life towards the development of the Khalifa Institute, Khalifa Education Foundation, our schools and so on. So he became a very ardent, very fulfilling, practicing Islam at the highest level. Alright, so it's no coincidence that I meet him, and then Allah ordained that he passed on, because early in his career he has been exposed to radioactivity when he was in the military service. Alright, so he passed on because of liver cancer, alright, in 2006, and then I continued to work. But before he passed on, he passed over his manuscript and all his writings, including his retreat for 3 years in the desert, trying to find the meaning and purpose in life, where he wrote the book, The Unified Theory of Existence. So we have extracted all those. That was done before he became a Muslim. So now this book is mostly his work in terms of extract from his book, Unified Theory of Existence, and we develop this understanding of how we Muslims can impact positively the world. So it is not a coincidence. So people say, oh, it's just coincidence. No, there is a purpose and meaning of why I am at that specific place at that specific time, and he is at that specific place at that specific time, that we together can work together and develop something in which Allah ordained to become positive Islamic psychology, all right, and a way of transforming or improving the nature of our existence on this earth and the strength of the Ummah in the 21st century, confronting the challenges of atheism, hedonistic lifestyle, free for all, addiction, and so on. So this is what Allah has ordained, but it is not coincidence. So there is a purpose and meaning, and when we do that, there is simultaneousness. He has the same feeling, I have the same feeling, we developed it, and then we concur in a lot of issues, then we develop harmony, then we collaborate. This is why this is a collaboration between myself, between Professor Mahdi Jenkins. He passed on and I continue. So you can see there are two authors here, all right? And then we cooperate, interact, and from there we develop this whole sense of synchronicity. So we are synchronous in that sense. But is that just the only thing? No, it is more, because from the Islamic theology and the tenets of Islam, remember, I've given you this model of our nafs. Our nafs consists of 4 realms of existence: the physical realm, the mind or the akal realm, the heart or the emotional realm, the qalb, and the ruh or the spiritual realm. So our nafs is bounded by these 4 aspects or domain as we existed on this world. What it is and why it is basically it is part of Islamic theology that we have to learn in terms of the nature of our spirituality, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the nature of our spirit. Alright, He doesn't give us much knowledge, where Allah tells us in the Quranul Kareem, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحِ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. So this is the ruh, that is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah does not give much knowledge except Khalil, very little knowledge. So this is where we can then extrapolate, and this is the model which I explained to you in our book, which we derive from the teachings and of all our great teachers, including Al-Imam Ghazali. So we have, as we live on this earth, we have our body. This physical body is the physical realm fused into our spiritual realm. So this is our nafs. This is another way of seeing our diagram. This is our nafs. Our nafs are being influenced by, first, our physical realm as we exist on this earth. This is our physical realm, which is integrated into the spiritual realm. That is, in the spiritual realm, we have our qalb, our heart, we have our ruh, and we have our akal. Alright? So when there is interaction between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, there is synchronicity at all levels. So that's why, from the Islamic perspective, nothing in this world that happened to you, that happened to other people, that happened to the world, that happened to the universe, that happened to the beast or the planet, all is ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a flow. If we live on this earth, this is what we call the flow of time. Alright, so we are living on this earth, we have a time. Alright, so in the next point, I'll explain to you about time. But this is basically, the synchronous event can be directed in such a way for mentoring. How are we going to understand this for mentoring? That means your relationship, I've explained to you earlier, your relationship between the mentor and mentee is rapport. But at a higher level, we have rapport at the spiritual level. Alright? You have rapport at your heart level and your akal level. So your rapport is from the body language. For example, this is jasad. From your tone, from your speech. This is the physical aspect. But then you are connected to your mentee through the thinking process, how you influence each other, how you concur with each other, how you cooperate with one another at the realm of the akal. So then you will be the influencer to your mentee. You as a mentor, you influence your mentee, and your mentee also will then in return influence you at the realm of the akal, mind. Remember, this is not just brain. We're not talking about just brain. We have the mind. So this mind is interacting, you as a mentor interacting with that means this is you, for example, there's another set, your mentee, and they're interacting. So there are two selves interacting at the realm, at the akal. That's the first step. Then you are also interacting at the realm of the heart, qalb. So at the realm of the heart, you develop the emotional connectivity. in terms of mercy, compassion and love. But this love is at a higher level of love. That means your love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that translates into the caring, mercy, loving kindness for your mentee, because your mentee have problems. So your mentee could be addicted to cocaine, it could be addicted to ecstasy, it could be addicted to pornography, he could be a broken person in all aspects of what you can imagine a young man should be or a young woman should be. But he is still the possessor of the ruh, and he is still the possessor of the nafs. So now is a transformation of the ruh and the nafs at a high level. So you use the synchronous capability that Allah has given you. This is a capability that is infused in you as long as you are a human being and as long as you are alive. This is the aspect that is part and parcel of our existence at the realm of the mind, at the realm of the heart and at the realm of the ruh. So there's interaction, there will be influences. So you can then become a positive influencer at the level of the akal, at the level of the heart, at the level of the ruh to your mentee. And when that happens, there is a very much higher level of connection, more than rapport. And that become a lifelong bonding. Just like you're bonded to your child or your grandchild, this is something like that. It doesn't involve anything bad or anything sexual. No, it is a very pure kind of mentor-mentee relationship, which will then develop a very strong bonding, and you influence each other. And then you can grow. As you grow, this broken person become a wholesome person. He or she may then influence you backward, because maybe in his or her ibadah he has reached a level much higher. You are backward. You are the mentor, but he is now your mentee, but he has elevated. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of this divine grace has elevated his capability to become a person with full of ihsan. For example, he has transcend iman, he has transcend Islam, he has transcend now at the level of ihsan, and you are still struggling at nafsu al-lawamah, but he is already moving towards nafsu mutmainnah. So now the role become different, even though he's younger, but because of the grace and the mercy of Allah, and because of the nature of qada and qadar that Allah has ordained, that person becomes a better person than you. But the barakah of you becoming the mentor, helping him out, because this is the world of cause and effect. There is causality. Every action that your mentee become, every action that he's elevated, you get the barakah, you get the rahmah, you get the love and the mercy of Allah, you get the pahla, and you also will then journey towards the fullness of iman, Islam and ihsan. So this is, see this beautiful thing about synchronicity. So I hope when you explain this model, this is in our book, Positive Islamic Psychology, a transcendent model to achieve peace, happiness and success. This is part of our model. I have to explain this back again, because under secular psychology, there's no such thing. It's just physical interaction, it is khalas. No, we have higher level, and not only that, our interaction goes beyond our life. We will live beyond death. When we live, Allah ordained the return for us in time bound. I explained to you from the realm of Alastum bi Rabbikum to the realm of this dunya to the realm of the hereafter. Our connection will be go on and on and on forever, as Allah has willed, and inshallah receiving the full grace and the mercy of Allah, His fullness of Jannah, His fullness of Ya Ayyatuhan Nafsul Mutmainnah Irji'i ila Rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah fathulil fil ibad fathulil jannat. The fullness of our life on this earth, transcending towards the fullness of being His Khalifa on this earth, striving to make ourselves good, helping others to be good, and making the world good, inshallah.